You know, when a pregnancy starts, your body doesn't waste any time. It starts sending out all sorts of signals. And believe it or not, actual pain can be one of the very first. So let's get into it and decode what these early aches and pains might really be telling you.
So the big question is, can you really know you're pregnant just from these aches and pains? Well, here's the thing. While they're not a 100% guarantee, they are absolutely strong early hints. I mean, your body is going through these massive changes right from day one, and these pains, they're often the very first signs that this incredible process is kicking off.
All right, so where does it all start? The journey really begins with something called implantation. This is the moment the embryo attaches itself to the wall of your uterus, and it's often the very first physical event that you might actually be able to feel.
The most common sensation you might notice is this distinct little pain in your lower abdomen, specifically down below your belly button. It could be on the right, it could be on the left, but it's a very localized feeling that just feels different from your usual period cramps.
Now, we're not talking about that intense, heavy ache of a typical period. No, this is much lighter. Women often describe it as a gentle pulling feeling, or even like butterflies fluttering inside. Some even say it feels like a quick little needle prick. And it all happens because the uterine muscles are stretching to welcome their new arrival. You'd typically feel this about a week or so before your period is due, and sometimes, not always, it can come with a little bit of light pink or brown spotting.
Okay, so at the very same time you might be feeling that little twinge in your abdomen, you could also notice a completely new sensation in your lower back. Maybe a feeling of heaviness or just a dull ache that wasn't there before.
And that's no coincidence, by the way. As soon as the embryo implants, your uterus immediately starts getting ready for growth. It begins to expand, making more room for itself down in your pelvis, and that process can create that persistent, dull ache in your lower back. For a lot of women, this is one of the very first things they notice.
All right, let's move on to the second major reason for these pains, and this one's a biggie: hormones. As soon as you're pregnant, your body gets flooded with hormones like estrogen and progesterone, and this huge chemical shift brings on its own set of very distinct pains.
And maybe the most famous hormonal sign of them all? Breast tenderness. If your breasts suddenly feel tight, heavy, and just super sensitive to even the slightest touch, that is a very, very strong early indicator.
Just how strong of an indicator are we talking about? Get this, up to 95% of women experience some kind of breast pain or sensitivity in early pregnancy. That makes it one of the most prominent and commonly reported signs out there. It's a huge clue.
So what's actually happening here? It's pretty fascinating. Those rising hormones increase blood flow and even fat stores in your breasts to get them ready for milk production way down the line. That's what causes that feeling of tightness and heaviness. But you might also see some physical changes, like your nipples becoming darker and more painful, or you might notice little bumps appearing on the areola. It's a very clear signal that your body's hormonal system is shifting into full-on pregnancy mode.
So, those same hormones that are making all these other changes? Well, they can team up with another major change that we're about to talk about, and that can lead to another really common pain: frequent headaches.
And that brings us perfectly to our third big cause for all these early aches and pains: your blood flow, your circulation. To support a new life, your body literally starts to increase its total blood volume, and that can cause some interesting pains related to all that extra flow.
So yeah, those headaches, it's not just the hormones. It's also caused by your body's blood volume actually increasing. And what's more, your body is incredibly smart. It starts redirecting a lot of that new blood flow straight to the uterus to support the developing embryo. This sudden shift in where the blood is going can cause aches in other parts of your body.
And where else might you feel this shift? Well, a super common but often overlooked spot is your legs and thighs. Because so much of your circulation is being prioritized for the uterus, your legs might just feel kind of achy or tired. It's a really common symptom that people don't always connect to early pregnancy.
Okay, so let's put this all on a timeline to make it super clear. About a week before your period is due, you might feel those first little implantation twinges in your belly and your back. Then, a few days later, as those hormones really start to ramp up, that breast tenderness and maybe a headache could kick in. By the time your period is actually supposed to start, these symptoms are often pretty noticeable.
Okay, we've talked about all these different pains and signs. But this leads to the most important question of all. If you're feeling these things, does it mean you are definitely 100% pregnant?
Right. This is where we need to be really clear. We have to make that jump from just noticing the symptoms to actually getting a certain answer, because these pains are clues, but they aren't the final confirmation.
You have to think of it this way. There are signs, and then there's confirmation.
They are two different things. The abdominal pain, the backache, the sore breasts, those are all powerful signs. But the true, undeniable confirmation only comes from two key events. First, a missed period, and second, a positive pregnancy test.
So the process to get that confirmation, it's actually really straightforward. Step 1, just wait and see if your period shows up. If it doesn't, that's your big cue. Then wait another day or two and take a home pregnancy test. That's the moment of truth.
Now, understanding the test result is obviously key. 2 clear pink lines, that means you're pregnant. 1 line, you're likely not. But what about that tricky situation where you get 1 dark line and 1 really faint one? That's actually super common. It usually just means your pregnancy hormones are still rising. The best thing to do is just relax and test again in another 3 or 4 days. You'll likely get a much clearer result then.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It's this: listen to your body. It is so empowering to learn how to recognize these very early signals. They are real, they are valid, and they matter. But for that final, definitive answer, you should always trust the scientific confirmation of a test. So from now on, when you feel those little twinges, those subtle aches, you'll have a much better idea of what could be going on. The final question is always the same. You've listened to all the clues, but what is your body really trying to tell you? The answer is just one test away.